Welcome to Tales by Bali, where we bring you stories of love, power, and destiny from the heart of Africa. Today's story will take you deep into the Mpondo Kingdom, where a queen must balance her throne, her people, and the rivalries of 4 husbands. If you love stories of warriors, kingdoms, and the struggles of the heart, you're in the right place. Make sure you hit subscribe and turn on the bell, so you never miss the next chapter of this saga. Now, let's step into the fire and begin the story. Part 13. The night march. The scouts returned breathless just before midnight. Their torches smoked as they staggered into the south gate. They moved, the lead said. Not all, but 20. They left their hill and marched closer. They stopped 2 fields from the shrine. They built no fires. They stand in the dark. Nomvula ordered the horns blown once. The low sound rolled across the capital. Guards took their posts. Lamps were lit along the fence. Families huddled in huts. Children were hushed into silence. Mkhuseli wanted to take men at once. Let me drive them back before dawn, he said. No, Nomvula said. We hold the fence. If they come, we strike. If they stand, we wait. Jobe stood beside her, his jaw set. Your word keeps allies. If you break it, you lose them. Mkhuseli spat into the dirt. Allies will not bleed for you if you are already dead. The queen ignored the quarrel. She kept her eyes on the dark fields until the sky grew pale. At dawn, scouts reported the 20 had returned to their hill. No one had crossed. Morning after, when the board was updated, the words were plain. 20 men marched closer at night. They stood 2 fields away. They returned by dawn. No crossing. The yard buzzed with fear. People muttered about raiders at their doors. Some demanded more guards at the wells. Others whispered that someone inside must be telling Velo when to move. By mid-morning, rumors spread like sparks. The Queen's Alliance husband sends messages to his father. One of the guards leaves signs in the dust at night. The princess envies the Queen and feeds Mvelo secrets. None of it was proven, but the whispers bit deep. Elders return. The elders' council returned before midday. Chief Mthembu's face was stern. You see, he said. They march closer. They test you. If you wait, they will cross when you are unready. Strike now, and you send them scattering. Nomvula shook her head. They marched and returned. They did not cross. I will not strike first. Another elder leaned forward. Then at least let us send envoys to Mvelo. Perhaps he will speak. Nomvula stared at him. He plants spears, ties bones, and marches in the night. Do you think he seeks words? The elder hesitated, then fell silent. You are queen, Mthembu said. But remember, when the people fear, they may turn to those who promise action. If you do nothing, they will not wait long. Nomvula's jaw tightened. I do not do nothing. I hold the fence. That is more than action, it is rule. The elders left, but their mutters followed. Court session. Fear cases that afternoon. The court was thick again. But today, every case carried the weight of fear. Case 1. A guard accused a woman accused a guard of leaving his post at night. She swore she saw him walking toward the south path, alone. The guard denied it. He said he had stepped aside only to relieve himself. Nomvula asked for other witnesses. 2 said they saw nothing. 1 said she thought she saw a shadow. Nomvula's voice was steady. The law is simple. Guards do not leave posts at night. If you must step aside, another must stand in your place. This guard will serve 3 nights doubled with another. If he is seen leaving again, he will be removed. The guard bowed his head. The woman still glared. The crowd murmured. Case 2. Grain missing. A storekeeper claimed 3 sacks of grain were gone from the storeroom. He accused a trader who had loaded wagons at dawn. The trader denied it. Nomvula ordered the storeroom opened in public. The sacks were counted one by one. None were missing. The crowd jeered the storekeeper. Nomvula raised her hand. Fear makes eyes see what is not gone. We will count stores each morning. No more whispers. The storekeeper bowed, red-faced. Case 3. Betrayal shout! A boy shouted in the yard that Jobe was a spy for his father. Guards grabbed him. Nomvula called the boy forward. He trembled. I only heard it, he said. Men at the well said it. Nomvula looked at the crowd. Who said it? Silence. No one stepped forward. Nomvula said, Then the boy will not be punished. But let this be clear. If you spread words without proof, you face this court. Truth is written on the board. Lies will not rule us. The crowd was restless, but no one argued. Husbands' divisions that evening, the husbands gathered. The hall felt tight. Mkhuseli slammed his fist. Rumors of spies spread because one of us leaked. It is not me. My men bleed with me. Jobe snapped back. If anyone leaks, it is those who thirst for war. My father gains nothing from this madness. You defend him too quickly, Mkhuseli said. You attack me too often, Jobe shot back. Lenga lifted his hands. The people fight already in the yards. If you fight here too, the queen's throne cracks. Zwelinzima spoke softly. The prophecy moves closer. Not all of you will see the dawn. Perhaps your anger hurries the day. The room froze at his words. Nomvula rose. Enough. If I hear more accusations without proof, I will confine the man who speaks them. Husband or not. Do you hear me? Yes, they muttered, but their eyes did not soften. Nomvula's act of strength. The next morning, Nomvula ordered a new act. She told Mkhuseli to form a shield wall at the south gate. 20 men stood shoulder to shoulder, shields locked, spears upright. Behind them, Zwelinzima burned herbs in a clay pot. Nomvula herself stood before the wall. She raised her spear and shouted so the whole yard heard, This is our gate. Behind these shields are our homes, our children, our cattle. No man crosses unless he dies first. This is not fear. This is order. The crowd roared. Even those who doubted shouted her name. Children ran forward, clapping. Women raised ululations. For the first time in days, the capital breathed easier. Mkhuseli smiled grimly. Jobe stood silent, but his shoulders eased. Lenga spread the words fast. The queen stood with the shields. The queen holds the gate. The night after that night, the hills glowed with more fires. Scouts counted 60 men now. They banged shields through the dark, their noise carrying across the field. In her hut, Nomvula opened the box. She placed a handful of ash from the herb fire inside. She whispered, They grow, but we still stand. She closed the lid and lay down with her spear across her knees, her eyes open long into the night. Part 14. The Hill of 60. At dawn the scouts returned. They looked more worn than before. Their voices carried the weight of fear. There are 60 now, the lead scout said. We counted them as the sun rose. They stood in rows, not scattered. They banged shields together until the hill shook. They shouted your name, Queen. They shouted it with curses. Nomvula asked, Did they cross? No, the scout said. They did not move past the shrine. But they came to the very edge of the line and planted 3 spears upright. Then they stepped back. Nomvula nodded once. Rest. You will return at dusk. She looked at her guard captain. Write it all. Post it on the board. Leave nothing out. The board of fear. The update read. 60 men stood in rows. They banged shields. They cursed the queen's name. They planted 3 spears at the line. They did not cross. The people gathered. The yard filled thicker than before. Faces were pale. Mothers held children close. Men muttered that 3 spears meant 3 lives to be taken. A woman cried out, Whose lives? Ours? The queen's? The husband's? No one answered. Fear thickened the air. Lenga and the singers came forward. His voice rang out, strong and clear. The queen stands. The guard stands. They shout because they cannot cross. They plant spears because they cannot strike. Do not fear noise. Trust the line. Some nodded. But many turned away with worry in their eyes. The elders press again. The elders' council arrived by mid-morning. Chief Mthembu's cloak was heavy with dust. He leaned on his staff. Nomvula, he said, This is no longer a game of waiting. 60 men is not noise. It is an army. The council demands that you call the warriors of the kingdom. Call every kraal. Arm every man. Show strength before it is too late. Nomvula looked at him steadily. If I call every man, we leave the fields empty, the cattle unguarded, the markets bare. Then we starve before they strike. I will not call all. Not yet. An elder woman snapped her tongue. If you do not, the people will. They will take up spears themselves. Then you will not lead them, they will lead themselves. Nomvula's jaw set. If they march without my word, they march without the kingdom. They will be punished as raiders, no different than Velo's men. The council murmured angrily, but Chief Mthembu raised his hand. You carry your father's blood, but not his caution. Remember, a ruler who waits too long finds her people gone when she turns. They left, their faces dark. Court of Division that afternoon, court opened heavy. The disputes were not about goats or beer this time. They were about fear and anger. Case 1. Two traitors shouted that the other had spread lies. One swore the other claimed the queen was ready to flee the capital. The accused denied it. Nomvula asked for proof. None came. The law is clear, she said. Words without proof are lies. Both of you will carry the board for 3 days. You will read its truth aloud in the market until your voices crack. Then you may trade again. The crowd muttered approval. Case 2. A soldier and a farmer. A farmer accused a soldier of seizing grain from his store at night. The soldier admitted he took it but swore he would return it after his watch. Nomvula's voice was sharp. Soldiers defend. They do not steal. You will grind grain for this farmer for 10 days. If you take again, you will lose your place in the guard. The soldier bowed his head. Case 3. A wife's cry. A woman stepped forward, shaking. She swore her husband told her he would join Velo if the queen did not act. The husband shouted it was a lie. Nomvula looked at him hard. If your tongue speaks such words again, your kraal will lose its cattle to the kingdom. Do you understand? He nodded, pale. The court ended, but unease spread. The people saw the kingdom cracking not just outside the fence, but inside. Husbands in conflict that night. The husbands argued openly in the hall. Mkhuseli pounded the table. 60 men. And still you hold us back. Call the warriors now. Jobe's voice was low but sharp. If you do, you drag my father into war. He waits to see who strikes first. If you strike, he will strike too, but not for us. Mkhuseli's eyes burned. Then maybe we should cut you down first, traitor. Jobe rose. His hand hovered at his knife. Try it, and you will prove the prophecy today. Langa stepped between them. His face was tight. Enough. If the guard sees this, they will split with you. Half to battle, half to peace. Then the enemy will not need to cross, we will kill each other. Zwelinzama's staff tapped the floor once. The prophecy said only 3 will see the dawn. Perhaps the 4th digs his own grave now. The room froze. Nomvula's voice cut through. Silence. If I see hands on weapons again in this hall, I will confine you both. Husband or not. You test me too far. Reluctantly they sat. But their eyes promised more trouble. Nomvula's bold act at dawn. Nomvula ordered a new act. She told the guard captain to light a great fire in the market yard. The people gathered, confused. She stepped forward with her spear. In her hand she carried the 3 spears that had been planted at the line. She held them high. These were left at our gate, she said. Not as gifts but as threats. I break them here before you. She snapped each one across her knee and threw the pieces into the fire. The wood cracked, sparks leapt. We are not cursed, she said loudly. We are not weak. We stand. If they cross, we strike. Until then, we keep order. This is the word. The crowd cheered, louder than before. The flames burned high, the crackle drowning whispers. For a moment, fear broke. Dusk report at dusk, scouts returned again. Their voices were grave. 60 became 70. More men joined them. They marched in rows at sunset. They shouted, "Tomorrow." They shouted it 3 times. Then they lit their fires. Nomvula stood silent. She whispered to herself, "Tomorrow." In her hut, she placed the ash from the burned spears into the box. She closed the lid and sat with her spear across her knees. Outside, the people's voices rose late into the night. Some prayed. Some sharpened blades. Some wept. The hills glowed with fire, brighter than stars. Part 1570. On the hill the scouts came before the first rooster crowed. Their faces were tight, their voices hurried. "They are 70 now," the lead said. They gathered through the night. They stood in rows as the fires burned low. At dawn they shouted today again and again. They marched closer than before, only 1 field from the shrine. They stood there until the sun rose, then stepped back. They did not cross. But they wait. Nomvula dismissed them to wash and drink. Then she told her guard captain, "Write it on the board. Word for word. 70. 1 field away. Shouted today. Stepped back. No crossing." The captain hesitated. "The people will panic." "They panic worse when we hide," Nomvula said. "Write it plain." Fear in the yard. By sunrise the market yard was full. The board was read aloud. People groaned. Mothers clutched children. Men shouted at each other. "They will come today," one cried. "Then let us strike first," another shouted. "No, the Queen said we wait," a woman argued. The crowd roiled like water in a storm. Langa and his singers tried to calm them. He raised his hands. They shouted yes. But they did not cross. "The Queen holds. The guard stands." Some listened. Many did not. The yard split into groups. One side demanded war, the other side demanded patience. Words turned to shoves. Guards rushed in to hold the lines apart. Nomvula came herself. She climbed the platform and raised her spear. "Silence," she roared. The crowd froze. "You fight each other while the enemy waits outside. If you spill blood here, you do their work. Hold your tongues. Hold your hands. We will stand as one, not as pieces. If any man strikes another in this yard, he will face the court today." Her voice cracked the air like a drum. Slowly the crowd stilled. But fear still simmered beneath their silence. Elders' last plea. The elders' council came again, grim and stern. Chief Mthembu's face was lined like stone. "Nomvula," he said, "you broke spears. You marched guards. Still they grow. 70 now. They shout today. We cannot wait any longer. Call the warriors of the kingdom. Call them now." Nomvula shook her head. "Not yet. They have not crossed." "You risk everything," Mthembu said. "If they cross with 70, we may not hold." "We will hold," Nomvula said firmly. "And if we call all too soon, the fields will empty, cattle will be lost, and we will starve. My word is final." The elders left, muttering darkly. Some whispered to the people as they passed, sowing doubt. Court of Cracks. The court that day was heavy, each case dripping with fear. Case 1. 2 neighbors. One man accused his neighbor of hiding spears from Velo's men. He swore he saw him burying something near his kraal. The neighbor denied it, shaking with rage. Nomvula sent guards to dig the place. They found only a bundle of firewood. She stood and spoke. Fear makes eyes lie. "This man accused without proof. He will grind grain for the kingdom for 10 days. His neighbor is cleared." The accuser bowed his head in shame. Case 2. A shouting merchant. A merchant shouted in the yard that the queen was cursed and that the husbands fought each other. Guards dragged him forward. Nomvula faced him. "You speak of curses without proof. You shout to weaken the fence. For 30 days you will be silent. You will work at the cattle pens. If you shout again, you will be exiled." The merchant spat at her feet. Guards struck him down and dragged him away. The crowd murmured but did not defend him. Case 3. Brothers divide. 2 brothers argued before the queen. One swore he would take his spear and join Velo if the queen did not strike. The other swore he would fight to defend her. They nearly came to blows. Nomvula stood. blood is not spilled in this yard, you will both serve together. You will guard the south path for 10 nights. Side by side. If one leaves, both will be punished. If one fights the other, both will be removed. The brothers glared at each other but bowed. The crowd murmured approval. Husbands in open conflict that night in the hall. The husbands broke into open anger. Mkhuseli's voice thundered. 70 men. And still you hold us back. If we do not strike, we will fall. Jobe slammed his fist. If you strike, my father will join them. You will doom us all. You hide behind your father, Mkhuseli snarled. You hide behind your thirst for blood, Jobe shot back. They rose, faces inches apart. Hands brushed spear and knife. Lenga stepped between them, shouting, Stop! If you kill each other here, the prophecy is fulfilled, and the kingdom falls without a fight. Zwelinzama's staff struck the ground. The prophecy waits. Only 3 will see the dawn. But which 3 is still in the balance? The air froze. Nomvula's voice cut through. Sit down. If you draw steel again in this hall, I will confine you both for 30 days. I do not care whose blood you carry. I am queen. You are husbands. Remember your place. Reluctantly they sat. But their eyes burned with fury. Nomvula's hardest decision that night. Nomvula gathered the people in the market yard. Fires burned high. The air was thick with fear. She stepped onto the platform. Her voice was firm. 70 men shout outside. They plant spears. They curse us. But they have not crossed. We will not strike first. We will stand. But we will prepare. She raised her spear. Tonight, I call 10 men from each kraal. They will come tomorrow at dawn to stand at the fence. Not all, only 10 from each. The rest will guard fields and cattle. We will not empty our homes, but we will show strength. This is my word. The crowd erupted. Some cheered, some shouted in anger. But the order was clear. Every kraal would send 10. Nomvula lowered her spear. We will not break. We will not starve. We will stand. If they cross, we strike. Until then, we hold. The people shouted her name. Louder this time. Stronger. Night of waiting that night the capital did not sleep. Men sharpened spears. Women sewed torn tunics. Children carried water to the guards. Fires burned bright at every gate. On the hills, the 70 men beat their shields until the sound shook the ground. Their fires glowed red, a ring of threat in the darkness. In her hut, Nomvula opened the box. She placed a splinter from the broken spears into it. She closed the lid. She sat with her spear across her knees. She whispered, Tomorrow. The dawn of 70, the morning sky was red before the sun broke the horizon. The air was thick, heavy with dust and smoke drifting in from the hills. Scouts ran from the ridge, their breath ragged. They march, one cried. 70 men, shields raised. They march straight to the shrine. Nomvula rose from her stool at once. She strapped her belt, lifted her spear, and stepped into the yard. Call the horns. Form the lines. The horns blew. Deep, long notes rolled through the capital. People poured into the market yard. Some held children, some carried water, some gripped old spears. The fear was sharp in their faces. The fence line at the south gate, Mkhuseli had already formed 50 guards. Shields locked, spears upright, jaws set. Behind them, 10 men from each kraal arrived, carrying their own weapons, not all spears, some clubs, some sticks, some knives. Nomvula walked to the front. She lifted her spear high. This is the line. They cross, we strike. No one moves before my word. Mkhuseli shouted to his men. Shields ready. Eyes forward. The ground shook as the enemy marched closer. Dust rose behind their feet. 70 men, loud and steady. They beat shields with sticks. They shouted the queen's name, followed by curses. The people inside the fence crowded close. Lenga and the singers spread their arms, holding them back. Stand behind the line. Do not push, he shouted. His voice carried, smooth and commanding. Jobe stood at Nomvula's side, his bark book in hand. If they steal cattle, I will record. If they burn huts, I will mark. But we must hold, or all is lost. Zwelinzima touched his staff to the ground. His lips moved in a low chant, a prayer not for miracles but for calm. The first clash, the 70 reached the shrine. They stopped. For a long moment, silence. Then one man stepped forward and threw his spear. It flew across the line, striking the dirt just short of the queen's feet. Dust jump. The crowd gasped. Nomvula lifted her spear. They crossed. Mkhuseli roared. Forward! The guards surged. Shields slammed together, spears thrust. The front line of Mvelo's men rushed too, their sticks and knives raised. The two sides met at the shrine. The sound was sharp, wood on wood, iron on shield, men shouting. Nomvula struck the man who had thrown first. Her spear cut his arm. He fell back, clutching blood. Another lunged at her, but Jobe pulled her aside. The point scraped her sleeve, not flesh. The guard line held firm. Mkhuseli's voice thundered above the clash. Push! Push! The crawl men behind the guards threw stones. Some hit shields, some hit faces. Mvelo's men faltered. After moments that felt like hours, they broke. They stumbled back over the line, dragging the wounded. The ground was littered with dropped sticks, broken spears, and blood. Not much, but enough to stain the dust. Nomvula lifted her spear high. They crossed. We struck. They broke. We stand. The crowd inside the fence roared. Women ululated, men shouted, children clapped. For the first time, fear was broken by pride. Chaos in the capital, but not all was calm. In the market yard, as the crowd cheered, two men shouted at each other. One cried, "We should chase them now. Finish them." The other shouted, "No. We must hold." They swung fists. Soon others joined. The yard turned into a fight, not with spears, but with hands and sticks. Lenga tried to calm them. "Stop. Stop. The queen will judge." But the noise drowned him out. Guards rushed back from the line to break the fight. People scattered. A pot of beer smashed. A stall of grain toppled. Nomvula returned to find her capital in chaos. Her jaw tightened. She climbed the board platform, raised her spear, and shouted. Silence. Slowly the crowd froze. Some bled from cuts, others trembled. Children cried. Nomvula's voice was sharp as steel. We struck the enemy outside and won. Now you strike each other inside? This is shame. This is weakness. Hear me. If you raise hand or stick against your own, you are no better than Mvelo's men. You will face the court. You will lose your place. Do you understand? Yes, Queen, they muttered. The court of blood. Nomvula did not wait. She held court immediately, in the same yard where the fight had happened. The first man who threw a punch was made to carry water for the granary for 30 days. The second, who broke a stall, was ordered to rebuild it by hand before nightfall. 3 others, who joined with sticks, were sent to grind maize together for 15 days. She made the judgments swift and public. The people watched, silent. This is law, she said. We strike the enemy outside, not each other. Husbands fracture that night in the hall. The husbands sat in heavy silence. Mkhuseli broke it first. We should have chased them. We had them broken. Jobe shook his head. If we chased, we would have crossed the line and become raiders. Then my father would rise, not for us but against us. You always speak of your father. Mkhuseli snapped. Are you his son or her husband? Jobe stood, his hand on his knife. Say it again, and I will show you. Lenga stepped in fast. Enough. Do you not see? The people are already split. If you two split too, the queen will stand alone. Zwelinzima's staff tap. The prophecy walks nearer. 4 cannot last. Already, only 3 may be seen clearly in the firelight. They fell into silence again. Nomvula alone later. Nomvula sat in her hut. She opened the box and placed a splinter from the broken spears at the shrine inside. She looked at the bloodstains on her tunic. She touched them with her fingers. She whispered, "We held." But for how long? Outside, the guards paced. The people lay restless. And on the hill, fires burned still, brighter, louder, unbroken. The enemy had not been defeated, only tested, and tomorrow would bring more. The morning after the clash, the ground outside the shrine still carried blood. Scouts reported that Mvelo's men had dragged their wounded back to the hill. They had not crossed again during the night. Their fires burned until dawn, then dimmed. When the board was updated, the words were plain. 70 men crossed. They threw a spear. The queen struck. The guard held. The enemy broke and fell back. They did not return in the night. The people gathered. Some cheered the words, slapping their thighs in pride. Others whispered that Mvelo was only waiting for more men. A woman muttered, "If 70 came once, 100 will come next." Langa read the board aloud 3 times. His voice was clear, but his eyes scanned the crowd. He saw the split, half proud, half afraid. The elders in doubt. The elders' council came again. Chief Mthembu's face was not angry this time but heavy. "You struck and held," he said. "That is strength. But you did not chase. That is weakness. They will return." Nomvula answered simply. "They crossed. We struck. We held. That is law." The old woman elder leaned forward. "Law does not fill bellies. Law does not quiet cries. When they return stronger, will you still say we must wait?" Nomvula's jaw tightened. "Yes. Until they cross again, we wait. That is my word." The elders left without argument, but doubt hung on their faces. Court of Tension Court opened heavy again. 3 cases showed the cracks widening. Case 1. The broken fence. A farmer accused his neighbor of leaving part of the cattle fence down on purpose, letting calves wander near the south path. The neighbor swore it was an accident. Nomvula listened to both, then sent guards to check. They found the fence weak but not cut. She ruled. Neglect, not betrayal. The neighbor will rebuild the fence and guard it for 10 nights. If calves wander again, his kraal will lose cattle to the kingdom. The farmer bowed, satisfied. The neighbor muttered but obeyed. Case 2. A whisper of flight. 2 women accused a third of saying she would take her children and flee the capital at night. The accused admitted she had spoken it in fear. Nomvula's voice was calm. "Fear is not crime. But leaving without word weakens us. If you flee again, your hut will be burned and your cattle given to the kingdom. You will stay. You will work. You will not spread fear." The woman wept but agreed. Case 3. Husband accused. A boy shouted in the yard that one of the queen's husbands had sent word to the enemy. Guards dragged him forward. He trembled and said men at the well told him so. Nomvula looked at the boy. "Which husband?" she asked. The boy whispered, "The alliance husband." Gasps spread. All eyes turned to Jobe. Job's jaw clenched. "Lies. I sent no word. I served the queen." Nomvula raised her hand. The boy spoke words without proof. "He will grind maize for 10 days. If any man repeats this without proof, he will face the court." The husband stands. The yard buzzed with unease. Husbands divided that evening. The 4 husbands gathered in the hall. The air was thick. Mkhuseli glared at Jobe. "The people whisper your name now. How long before they bring proof?" Jobe shot back. "Proof will never come because there is none. But you want it to be true. You want me gone so you can have the queen to yourself." "You are weak," Mkhuseli snarled. "Your father waits on the hill with our enemy." "You are reckless," Jobe snapped. "Your thirst for war will destroy us all." They rose, hands near weapons. Langa stepped in again. "Stop this. The people saw the boy accuse you, Jobe. If you fight here, they will say the whispers are true." Zwelinzama's staff tap. His voice was quiet but sharp. 4 cannot last. The prophecy stands. One of you will fall. Perhaps soon. The hall was silent. The men sat, but their eyes stayed hard. Nomvula's isolation that night. Nomvula sat alone in her hut. She opened the box. The carved figures, the bones, the broken spears, the ash, the blood cloth. She touched each one. She whispered, "The fence holds, but inside it cracks. Outside they gather, inside they fight. I cannot lose both." She closed the box, set her spear across her knees, and sat until the lamp burned low. The cliffhanger at midnight, a guard burst into her hut. His face was pale. "Queen," he gasped. "Fire. A hut burns inside the fence. And men say it was no accident." Nomvula rose at once. She lifted her spear. She did not ask who. She only said, "Take me there." The flames glowed against the night sky. The people shouted in fear. The queen stepped out into the firelight, her shadow long, her face hard. Inside the capital, the first true breach had begun. Fire in the capital. Nomvula ran through the south yard with guards around her. The air was thick with smoke. People shouted, carrying water in clay pots. Flames licked at a hut near the kraal fence. The fire spread fast in the dry night air. She shouted, "Form a line! Water here!" Guards and villagers passed pots from the well, one to another, splashing water on the flames. Children cried. Cattle bellowed in panic. At last the fire hissed and dimmed. The hut's roof had collapsed, blackened and smoking. A family stood weeping in the yard, their goods ruined. Nomvula asked, "How did it start?" A woman stepped forward, trembling. "I saw a man in a gray cloak. He poured oil at the wall and lit it. He ran when the fire rose." Murmurs spread. Gray cloak. The name returned again, the shadow who had whispered to Job before. Nomvula's jaw tightened. "Did anyone else see him?" A boy said, "I saw a shadow run. He went toward the south path." Nomvula nodded once. "Then we know. This was no accident. It was placed." The crowds fear. The crowd around the hut shouted in fear. "If they burn inside, the fence is nothing. The gray cloak walks among us. Who lets him in? A husband? A guard?" The voices grew louder. Some shouted Job's name. Others shouted Mkhuseli's. The people were split, turning on each other. Nomvula raised her spear high. Her voice cut through the smoke. Silence. The noise died. The people froze. "This fire is not the enemy's victory. It is their trick. They want us to fight each other. We will not. Hear me now. Anyone who spreads blame without proof will face this court. We will find the truth. We will not turn on our own." Her eyes swept the crowd. None dared speak. Court of Fire. Nomvula held an immediate court by the smoking ruins. The family whose hut burned stood trembling. Neighbors gave what little they saw. But no one could name the man. "The truth is not yet here," she said. "Until it comes, we will guard each gate with double watch. No man walks at night without a lamp. If you see the gray cloak, you speak at once. If you hide him, you fall with him." She placed her spear into the ash of the burned hut. "This fire is marked. The enemy placed it. But it will not break us." Husbands in the firelight. When the people left, the husbands stood with her. The glow of the fire lit their faces. Mkhuseli's voice was sharp. "You see? He is inside the fence already. You must let me sweep the kraals with my men." Job snapped, "Sweep the kraals and you will beat innocent men. That is what Mvelo wants, to make us break ourselves." Langa's tone was urgent. "The people cheer you when you speak, but when you leave, they whisper. Their fear grows each night. If you do not give them more than words, they will turn." Zwelinzama's voice was low but clear. "The prophecy has opened its hand. 4 stand in the firelight, but only 3 will remain. The gray cloak is not the danger, it is here, in this circle." All 4 men stared at him, then at each other. Nomvula's face hardened. "Not tonight. We will not fall tonight. You are my husbands, not my enemies. If prophecy waits, let it wait. We have enough to fight already." Alone with the box when all was quiet, Nomvula returned to her hut. She opened the small box once more. Inside lay the carved figures, the bones, the broken spears, the ash, the blood cloth. Now she added a fragment of burned wood from the hut. The smell of smoke clung to her hands. She whispered, "First blood outside. First fire inside." The cracks widen. She shut the lid and sat with her spear across her knees. Closing of Episode 1. The capital lay restless. Some slept with weapons beside them. Some whispered in fear. Some whispered in anger. On the hills, Velo's fires burned. 70 men shouted into the night, their voices carrying across the fields. Inside the fence, 4 husbands sat apart, their eyes heavy with suspicion. And Nomvula, queen of the Mpando, sat alone in her hut, the weight of her crown pressing harder than the iron of her spear. The prophecy lingered in every mind: 4 husbands for a queen, but only 3 will see the dawn.